Bills Mafia, the crew, NFL fans across the country of all of the 32 teams, there's only going to be one thing that makes you guys care. Because the Colin Kaepernick situation already showed what you care about. You want your football. You don't want it interrupted by anything that has to be anything remotely political or anything remotely humane. Colin wasn't talking about anything that had to do with politics. He was saying that they are killing black and brown people through law enforcement, and he felt it was wrong. He felt that there was something that needed to be spoken about. And we blasted him. And disrespect to the flag, and un-American, and unpatriotic, and yada, yada, yada. Everything to avoid speaking about what the issues were that he was actually voicing. Why was he kneeling? He was kneeling to raise awareness. Why was he trying to raise awareness? He was trying to raise awareness because we kept dying. And nobody cared because it was interfering with your Sundays. And the NFL owners are the same way. The only thing that they care about is the money. Isn't it funny that Daniel Snyder, the owner now of the newly named and newly minted Washington Commanders, said that he would never change the name of the racial slur team, ever. He said it. It's on record. You can look it up, Google it. He said he would never change the name, ever. But when FedEx and other big corporations that actually bring big dollars to the Washington Commanders said that they were out on him, they were out on the name, it's funny how he changed his tune. Listen, you do not become a billionaire by caving to pressure. You do not become a billionaire by listening to all of the trends. Sometimes you'll have to zig when others are zagging. Sometimes you'll have to make decisions that are not popular. It's part of the reason why you're able to obtain wealth. So I'm not shooting down the billionaires for being billionaires. I'm not mad at them for making money and capitalizing in America. It's one of the things that we fantasize about in this country is success, is wealth, is gaining things and different things like that. Now, you might not hold those values to be true to you and your family, but some people do. There are 31 owners in the league, again, minus the Green Bay Packers, who are wholly owned, that have obtained a status that we will never understand in our day-to-day lives. You'll never know what it's like to be Stephen Ross. You'll never even know what it's like to be Terry and Kim Bagula. They are on a level and they play on a different field than we could even imagine. I don't want this episode to drag on. I'm very tired of talking about race. I'm very tired about talking about racism in America. But it sucks. You know, I watched and I waited for this episode. The reason I waited for this episode to come out was because I was waiting for Roger Goodell to speak. And you just heard his words, a lot of words, no substance. And that's his job, and I get it. His job is to protect the shield. So in that respect, he's doing a great job. He's protecting his constituents. But you know what sucks? When Brian Flores received that text message from Bill Belichick, it confirmed everything that my mother taught me and my brother growing up. You can't be as good as your peers. You must be better because of the color of your skin. And that's shitty. Straight up. I heard Mike Greenberg ask Brian Flores when he came on the first day after his lawsuit. I think it was literally, or it might have been the day of the lawsuit, on the first day of Black History Month on February 1st. And he asked him, he said, well, why did you go? They don't want us to get the job anyway. So why would you go? The reason and the answer to people who might be wondering that question is that we have to go. We have to take the crumbs. We have to hope that we are impressive enough and we are better than our peers to the point where we might shake somebody. We might shake an owner. We might shake a general manager, where he might have a tough conversation with this owner after we leave the interview and say, man, I don't know. I don't know, Steven. I don't know, Shad. I don't know, Terry. I don't know, Jerry. This guy, he's pretty sharp. He might be able to lead us. That's why we go to the interviews. Do you know how many black coaches in the NFL go to interviews each and every single cycle for coordinator positions and head coach positions that don't get them, that already knew that they weren't probably going to get them? Look at Eric Bieniemy. He probably puts on his best suit. He gets his best shoes out. He's making sure that he's looking nice to the T, cleaner than the Board of Health, as my father would say back in the day. Clean. Shows up to the interviews clean, presents himself well. But he knows he's not getting the job. Now, maybe it hasn't been like that in the beginning when he first started on the cycles. But by the time this last cycle, he gets the Houston Texans interview, he gets other interviews, the Bear. He knows he's not getting this job. And that's sad. And you can bring it back home to the Buffalo Bills, who I'm not accusing of racism. I'm not saying that the Bagulas are racist or anything like that. They knew that if Brian Daboll left, they wanted to hire Ken Dorsey. But what do? They have to bring in a black coordinator for an interview, or a coordinator candidate. They have to bring in one. They have to. So they bring in T. Martin or whoever else they brought in. And those guys get on a plane. They come in for the interview. They do the song and dance, knowing that, hey, man, Brian Daboll just left to the Giants. Josh Allen has openly endorsed Ken Dorsey. I'm probably not getting this job. But let me go to that interview. Let me present myself well. Let me show that I know what I'm talking about, just in case I move someone in that interview process. Just in case. It's degrading. It's humiliating. It's embarrassing. And I'm sure that Brian Flores felt all those things when he saw that text message come through from Bill Belichick, intended for Brian Daboll. Again, I'm not here to make jokes about an old man making mistakes. Like I said, we've all made that same mistake. We've all texted the wrong person. It's not even about that. Why does Bill Belichick know before Brian Flores goes on an interview that Brian Daboll has already been hired for the job? Basically. Why does Bill Belichick know that? It leads back to the name of this episode. It is the Good Old Boys Club. This is their club. So I didn't want to elaborate on anything other than the fact that I'm sad, to be completely honest. I'm tired and I'm sad. And as we wrap up this episode, the only thing that you guys will care about, and when I say you guys, I'm not being derogatory, I'm saying people that don't look like me, that don't talk like me. It's ironic that the Miami Dolphins just hired McDaniel, and he's half black. He's biracial. His mother is white. His father is black. The same as my three kings. My sons are biracial. And it's funny and ironic that this guy just got the job after Brian Flores was fired for allegedly being painted as the angry black man after he didn't comply to overtures from his owner to accept $100,000 a game for losing. Now, the incentives for losing, that's on the NFL. That's not Brian Flores' problem. I don't know how many owners would be that brazen. I don't know how many owners would offer their coach money to lose games. But one thing I do know is that this is not Brian Flores' issue. I've seen on Twitter, they're calling this guy a snitch, and they're saying that he backstabbed the organization. It all leads from the very beginning of this episode and the very beginning premise. My mother taught me that I could not be as equal to my peers. I had to be better than my peers in order to gain success because of the color of my skin. Now, you might listen to that and you might like, what? That's crazy. For black and brown people, that is a reality. So Brian Flores is given a proposition to lose games to help get Joe Burrow, to help get a big-time quarterback, and he says no. And then he has to show up and go to work the next day. What a weight. What a burden that this man was carrying. I applaud Brian Flores for his courage. He will be treated the exact same way, in my opinion, as Colin Kaepernick. People will try to deflect away from his message, and then they will try to divert and not talk about the issues of what he was speaking about, because that's convenient, and that is easier than talking about race. But the main thing that I wanted to come away from this episode is letting everybody know that I am tired. I'm sick of it. It sucks. It's not the way things are supposed to be. Hugh Jackson is not lying, in my opinion. Brian Flores did not just sacrifice his entire career because he's lying. He knows that it's hard to win a case for racism in the court of law. His lawyers have told him that. He has white lawyers, right? If white people are smarter than black people, then obviously the white lawyers told him that he's probably not going to win this case. It wasn't about winning or losing necessarily. Obviously he doesn't want to lose. He's trying to shake up the establishment. He's trying to gain everyone's attention on what the issues are. And the issues are that fundamentally, these owners do not feel that black and brown people, are capable of leading their teams. Google it. It's funny. You could do a little research lesson. Mike Tomlin, one of the most successful coaches in the modern era, went in for an interview with the Miami Dolphins. Ironic how that goes again. And sources close to the Dolphins said after his interview they weren't going to hire him because he was, quote, too hip-hop. They decided to go in the direction of Cam Cameron, and they sucked because they're the Dolphins, and they've been bad since Marino retired. And they passed on a coach who has been one of the most successful. Now, does that mean that all of his success in Pittsburgh transfers to Miami? No, it doesn't necessarily mean that. But it also doesn't necessarily mean that it does not transfer. They didn't hire him because he was, quote, too hip-hop. What does that even mean anyway? It was funny. I was listening to Dan Le Batard's show from last week, and Jamel Hill was on there as a guest. I mean, what is he? Is he quoting Biggie lyrics or something like that from the sidelines? Like, literally, like... And I couldn't stop laughing, and it's sad, but I was laughing because of how funny it was and how true it is. Like, what does too hip-hop? So you missed out on one of the best